There's this thought in our heads of, why be a good person when none of this seems to make a difference? Welcome back to the Merriment Making Podcast, where we're not afraid to ask the big, weird questions and laugh in the face of the void. I'm Mary, your host and fellow wonder seeker. Today we're going to talk about something that maybe feels a little bit heavy and scary even, but I promise I'm going to walk you through it gently, and the thing we're going to talk about is meaning. More specifically, what to do when you're not sure that anything has any meaning. Because sometimes when you're overwhelmed by heartbreak, burned out by bad news, or just feeling like nothing that you do matters, you might start to wonder, what is the point? And you're not alone in that. There are seasons where everything feels absurd, but not in the good way. It's like the world is glitching. Politics feel like a mess. People feel cruel. Your body hurts. Maybe a relationship ends. You feel let down by something or someone that you trusted. Honestly, this year for me has been really hard. This episode was supposed to come out last week, and just this past week has been really nuts for me personally. I was moving houses from a place that I had to move out of pretty quickly, not on my terms, a place that was full of mold. I didn't get to see the new house until a day before we moved. The bill for moving was $3,300. Matt and I both got very sick with a head flu during the move. It was a lot of things all at once. And this year on its own, my dad almost dying, us having to move him out of the home that I've known my whole life. I feel like I've talked about the things that have gone on in this life for me this year personally a lot, but I'm just saying that I understand. And if you're in one of those seasons, in these seasons, it can feel like the real fight isn't really between good and evil, but maybe it's actually between meaning and nihilism. Even for me this week, I got so bogged down by the zooming in to the details and the minutia and just like getting things done. Like we didn't even have internet. The internet provider made this humongous mistake and we were not going to have internet for 4 weeks. I had to do this really crazy thing and do a creative solution to get it fixed. I was so upset this week and sick and stressed and lost income for me and Matt for a whole week. It was crazy, and very, very, very easy to get really hyper-focused on those things. And then after about a week, I zoomed out and I was like, all right, I need to also look at the good stuff. I'm grateful that I have this house. We can't overlook or overstate the fact that there's a place to live, to be safe, to sleep, to have running water, indoor plumbing. I'm grateful that I have medicine to even treat this cold. It's just being able to kind of zoom out and find perspective, find meaning, give something meaning. And going back to what I was saying of maybe not fighting between good and evil, between feeling this push and pull between, is it anything worth anything? Is there meaning in anything? Or am I just wasting my time? There's this thought in our heads maybe of, why be a good person when none of this seems to make a difference? Have you ever felt like that? Because I get that. I really do. So existentialism says that maybe there really is no pre-written or objective purpose to your life. And that might sound bleak, but I think it can actually be kind of a liberation. Because if there's no pre-assigned meaning, that means you get to choose one. You get to build it, you get to shape it, you get to recreate it as you grow. Existentialism isn't really a rejection of meaning. It's like this call to become an architect of your own meaning. And I get that that can be really terrifying because that means there's no guidebook. There's no rule book. You don't get a syllabus with here's what you have to do. Here's the rules that you can't break. Here's what to do instead. It also means that no one gets to take your meaning from you. And I think that's really beautiful. It's yours and you get to make it and you get to change it. Even people who believe in God or the universe or some kind of benevolent plan still ask themselves, often, I think, why would love let this happen? Why is there so much suffering? Belief doesn't always soothe us. Sometimes I think it can actually deepen the ache. And when the world doesn't feel like it's rewarding kindness or like it's protecting the innocent or following some karmic system that makes sense to our logical or even emotional brains, it can be really easy to give up and say, like, nothing matters, right? I mean, sometimes I look at the things that have happened in my life, the stack of situations and circumstances and illnesses and trauma, and I'm like, I know that I have not been the best person 100% of the time by any means. I know that I've been the villain in other people's stories. I'm aware of that. But I just don't think that, like, it stacks up to all the things that I've experienced that were negative. When I think about, like, karma or, I don't know, anything, I'm like, what if it doesn't actually matter? Like, what if this is all just complete chaos? So what if absurdity is actually part of the wonder? What if the fact that life doesn't always make sense is like an invitation to create beauty anyway? To choose joy, to choose kindness, to choose awe, not because it may or may not be rewarded, not because it's fair, not because it's in a guidebook, but because you decided that it matters. Wayne Dyer said that inside of every acorn, there is an invisible pattern of a mighty oak tree, and that we are both of this world and from something unseen. And maybe that unseen world is God. Maybe it's source or soul or science or stardust. Maybe the existence of this world is God. Maybe it's your ancestors cheering you on. I don't know. The truth is that you don't know either, no matter how strong your faith is. We won't know. What I do know is that you didn't land here by accident. The astronomical amount of things that had to happen for you to be a human is insane. And your time on this planet, even if it's short and complicated and full of contradictions, can be sacred. Even if you're just one in 7 billion people, you still get to decide what your life is about, and you don't have to follow any other system or rules or expectations. Whenever I look up at the stars far out from the city, and I feel that sense of, oh my gosh, like, look how many there are, and I think about how even just one is its own giant system that I can't even fathom. I start thinking about, like, not just that they're beautiful, but they're not even, a lot of them aren't even there anymore. They've already died. It's taking so long for us to even see them. And then I spiral into the math of space and how small I am and how small we all are. And you think that might depress me. I think it does depress some people. It overwhelms them. But instead, it frees me. If I'm that small, why waste my life being cruel to myself? Why not play? Why not love hard? Why not create joy for myself and for other people? If nothing has inherent meaning, I get to infuse every moment with whatever I want it to have. And that's not giving up on life, that's leaning into it with everything I've got. Mark Manson talks about how the opposite of happiness isn't sadness, it's hopelessness. It's that gray, dull, washed out feeling where nothing seems to matter. I've always said that the opposite of happiness is actually apathy, so I think he's like right there with me. And hopelessness is really what breaks us. But hope, I think, is what heals us, you know? Hope doesn't have to mean believing in a fairy tale. It doesn't have to mean believing in a religion. It could just mean, I think tomorrow might feel better again. Or I want to see my friend smile again. Or maybe this small act of joy ripples into something I might never see, but it still matters. Hope is really what keeps us going, if you think about it. We hope that something might improve or change. That's really what's at the bottom of everything. It instills everything with meaning, hope. Your meaning doesn't have to be profound. It can be your art, your cat, the way you make breakfast, the way you listen to your friends, the way you collect acorns or jokes or look at sunrises. Right now, in this season of your life, you get to choose what matters over and over and over again, and it can shift, and you're allowed to change it later. But just for right now, I want you to answer a question for yourself, which is, what meaning are you creating for yourself right now? Maybe it's raising your kids with kindness. Maybe it's tending to your nervous system. Maybe it's art or activism or your garden or your recovery. Maybe it's just staying alive and finding little pockets of joy inside of the absurdity of it all. Whatever it is, honor it, speak it, and share it, because that's how we remind each other that meaning is possible. You don't have to save the world, and you don't have to fix everything, and you don't have to fix yourself. You just have to choose to care, to notice what lights you up, to build something, even if nobody else sees it, because you're the artist of your meaning and your purpose and the priestess of your own meaning. You are the person who's more powerful than the void. And you get to let yourself be lit up by the stars and the absurdity, and let yourself believe in beauty even when the world breaks your heart, because it will. And you can only have a broken heart if you cared in the first place. That's what a merriment maker does. They care. We dance with the nonsense. We build something that matters, even if it's silly, especially if it's silly. And I am so proud of you for still trying, for still caring. It's the most radical thing you can do. And you know what? If you want to take this thought process, this reflection even further, if you're not already in the Positive Pulse, there's a little bonus bundle to go with this episode inside the Positive Pulse. And you can join for free. It's uncustomary.org/pp for Positive Pulse. And there's like some journaling prompts for when meaning feels kind of slippery. There's 10 meaning practices that you can try. There's some affirmations that you can try when you feel like nothing really matters. And there's like a build your own personal philosophy, a little walkthrough so you can create a worldview that actually fits you. And again, it's totally free and ready for you. That goes along with this episode inside the Positive Pulse. And you can join or log in at any time. We just hit over 700 members this week while I was moving. It was really cool. And yeah, go comment on the episode, and I'd love to hear what resonates. Let's just remind each other that meaning is made, however it works for you. It's not assigned, and you are allowed to change your mind again and again as you grow. Until next time, you have to feel good to do good. I love you.